The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Subdue him and take him into federal custody. On the scene was recovered, among other things, 2 airsoft rifles and the container with the flammable liquid. Also affixed to the suspect's cart was a sign reading "Ice off our streets." During the incident, the suspect was wearing a military-style helmet. This incident occurred along federal property, and the NYPD is supporting the federal government in their investigations. Charges are yet to be filed. Our work with the Joint Terrorism Task Force and the Southern District of New York is critical to keeping our city safe, and I commend the federal agents and contractors and officers who responded to the threat.
That is Jessica Tisch, the commissioner of police in New York. She has a thankless job. You know, the mayor really doesn't want the police there anywhere. Anyway, this today in Lower Manhattan, as you may not know, a explosive device was set off. Incendiary device, it's being called now. A little bitty explosion, a little bitty fire, according to New York. This suspect has been confirmed as being Andrew Arabica. Don't know much about Mr. Arabica, but we do know that he had, as you heard Miss Tisch say, anti-ice stuff on him, and ice off of our city streets. Yeah. Where do you think he got that idea, that ice was the enemy? I wonder. Could it be the Democrat Party slanders of ICE have taken hold once again with somebody that is wanted to act on it? In a city where the mayor openly says he wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump put the kibosh on that. It just we don't even belong to the International Criminal Court. The United States doesn't, which Mondami is referring to as having an arrest warrant against Netanyahu. It's just a lot of mouth. Anyway, welcome to the Monday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. Carlos, did you watch the game?
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, wait, so you did watch it. I wasn't sure that you were going to watch it. You watched the whole thing. You woke up on time. And so the colonizers beat the poor, oppressed colonists in Argentina, which I was reminded over the weekend by several friends. They said, you've been talking about Argentina as being the colonists. You forget where the Nazis fled to after World War II, didn't you? Those that escaped. I'm like, I didn't forget. But I was talking pre-Nazi era when I was talking about what Argentina went through at the hands of Spain. Spain, the colonial power, anyway, flexed its muscle and beat down the colonists one more time. And the colonies and all, whatever. And there was some kind of dispute, I understand, after the game. Somebody tried to choke somebody. What was that about? Or had his hands on somebody's throat or something like that? Did you see anything?
I mean, this is just like sore losing, in my opinion. Just like you lost, just walk out.
Well, what happened? I didn't watch it.
They were upset about stuff during the game.
Okay.
Like, there was a lot of people were angry. Like Argentinians were angry. There was a red card on Argentina as well, which was very justified. But I mean, if you want to win, you got to play better. You got to play all 90 minutes in this occasion, all 120 minutes because you went to extra time.
So, was this big World Cup a success in your view? Yes. The World Cup in America?
Yes, and I'm going to miss it. It was really fun.
Well, you didn't sound too enthused to blast you about the last game. It was all right. But apparently, a lot of people thought it was a cliffhanger. I know people that never even mentioned the word soccer to me in their whole lives that were watching the game.
Same. Yeah, the first like 2-3 weeks with the group stage, where there were games every day, it was spectacular because it was right after the Knicks had won, so there was something, to keep going. sports-wise.
When did the Knicks win? Oh, that's right.
June, end of June. No, mid-June.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, TJ watched it. Yeah, and I wanted to, but I was busy doing other things. I had to clean out a drawer in my bedroom, and anyway, all right, we have that. We did that. Oh. On that note, speaking of explosives, ladies and gentlemen, the FDA now says that the source of the explosive diarrhea that has, I'm so sorry, but this is what this news is, and I thought you might want to know. The FDA has now backtracked on saying that the source of the explosive diarrhea that has afflicted many human beings came from lettuce that was supplied to Taco Bell from Taylor Fresh Foods. Apparently, they said that the earlier testing produced a false positive. And the cyclospora outbreak is still under investigation. Recalled, they did, after this thing, lettuce from central Mexico out of caution. But apparently the lettuce from central Mexico that was shredded and served at certain Taco Bell restaurants wasn't the culprit. And I'm not really clear if that means that Taco Bell isn't, because those people at Taco Bell got to be really upset if this thing pointed to them as being the source of this explosion or explosions. And if it's not, then where did it... TJ, you eat at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Have you been concerned about this lettuce at Taco Bell?
Haven't eaten there since that came out.
Haven't eaten there since that came out. Now, if this is false, many consumers, I wonder how this has affected Taco Bell's business. If it's false. Okay, moving on, not to other things, but we discussed immigration. One of the reasons why you get this nut job, in my view, in New York City that went and tried to set fire in front of the federal building with his no ICE on our streets is the continued rhetoric about ICE. And this audience knows, we don't have to go through what the rhetoric has been, you know it. But right now, just yesterday or day before yesterday, you had this guy who's running for the Senate in Michigan, Abdul El Sayed. Listen to what he said about ICE, and this should give you, this is cut number 13. This should give you an idea as to why Democrats, the language that Democrats use, why people are, number one, fleeing ICE, instead of stopping for ICE when they are approached. And that has led to some very, very difficult situations, including death, when they flee legitimate law enforcement traffic stops. But listen to the way this Democrat, and you know this is nothing new, and others talk about ICE. This is Abdul El Sayed.
ICE has nothing to do with immigration. ICE has nothing to do with the southern border. ICE is about normalizing paramilitary force on our streets. ICE is about weaponizing the idea of immigration against the Constitution itself. ICE cannot be reformed. ICE cannot be retrained. ICE has to be abolished.
There's something curious that this guy said. Not another dime of our money. Number one, as a senator, this is where I would hope that at some point someone starts asking Democrats real questions. You say ICE is going to be abolished, not a dime of your money. How exactly are you going to make that happen? How are you going to abolish ICE? He also claims that ICE is working, and he used some weird phrase to weaponize immigration and constitution. What the hell is... What is happening with ICE is that the executive branch is following the Constitution. They are in charge of securing not only the borders of the United States, but the interior of the United States. None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. But then listen to this, cut 12. This same candidate running for the senator of Michigan was on CNN with Jake Tapper. And just listen to this exchange.
20 weeks ago, when Iran's supreme leader was killed, you told your staff, according to audio obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, quote, "There are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today, so like I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all," unquote. I thought that quote was interesting because the Ayatollah has killed tens of thousands of innocent Iranians, not to mention the proxies that Iran has funded that have killed innocent civilians all over the Middle East. Why were you worried about offending people who support the Ayatollah?
Jake, on a day where we're mourning the loss of 2 more service members in a war we never should have fought, I think all of us ought to step back and ask whether or not everybody in Michigan, frankly, everybody in America, shouldn't be sad about the fact that this president, backed by the prime minister of a foreign government, took us to a war we had no business fighting in. So yeah, I didn't want to comment on it then because it's a ridiculous pretext. And now you're asking me about the Ayatollah, who's dead, by the way, and you're not asking me about the service members who've died. You're not asking me about whether or not this war should have ever been fought. You're not asking me about whether or not the costs that are being borne by Michiganders in the tax dollars we pay or the gas prices that are insane right now are worth it. And so, look, let's have a conversation based in Michigan. I'm running for Senate in Michigan. And I think here in Michigan, all of us are probably sad about the fact that we went to war that we never should have fought. I'd rather our money be spent here.
I was specifically asking you about comments you didn't want to make because you didn't want to offend people in Dearborn, which is in Michigan.
This guy thinks he's so slick, but if you really parse what he's saying, what is he saying? I didn't want to talk about it because the pretext is, he said he didn't want to talk about the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. Who? Khomeini. Who was responsible for the death of American servicemen with IEDs and with their strategy during the Iraq War. Iran has killed so many of their own people, but also the number one state sponsor of terrorism around the world. And he didn't want to talk about it because in Dearborn, Michigan, where he's running for Senate, he did not want to offend people that he thought would be some of his constituents. And by the way, the guy today is moaning and groaning about how Jake Tapper gave him a booty exam, pretty much. And it's just unbelievable. Answer the question, but he can't. One last thing before we head off to a break. Again, Abdul El Sayed, cut 14 with this warning for Chuck U. Schumer.
If you're Chuck Schumer and want to keep doling out corporate money to elect people who are going to do your bidding, I am so damn dangerous.
If you're Chuck Schumer, I'm dangerous for you. He's coming after Chuck U. And by the way, Senator Elizabeth Warren over the weekend endorsed this candidate. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media continues. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Do not go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Have you heard, ladies and gentlemen, about what is happening in Florida, in the Jacksonville area, An HOA has approved a special assessment of $155,000 so that they could sue a 28-year-old and get her out of their neighborhood. The HOA is for the community, which laughingly should be called, was named Freedom at Arbor Mill. It's a community in Jacksonville, Florida. This young lady moved there to take care of her father during the COVID-19. He was terminal. He was a disabled Navy veteran. He passed away in 2023. And his father left his daughter the house. She is not 55. She's 28. And so the homeowner association wants to throw her out, make her get out of the home that she inherited from her father because she's not 55 years old. And there are other people under that age. They want somebody 55 to at least be in the house. And they've now assessed every homeowner $1,000 to fight this woman with a lawsuit. I hope she crushes this HOA. I am so sick of some of these HOAs with their indiscriminate abuses of power. James Golden, Snerdley. Keep it right here. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Democrats are cowardly.
Yeah.
They're cowardly. Their party is being taken over now by, every day I hear about a new, very radical. I feel very good about like 10 whatever years ago, like I did lose fans because, I wasn't going to go along with some of this crazy stuff on the left too. I didn't change really on what I thought about the right, but I can't sit and just not notice stuff, which people seem to want to do because it's all about my team or your team. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff, when we're cheering for the Intifada, I'm out.
Well, I don't know if you saw Jay Clayton is nominated to be the head director of national intelligence.
Bill Maher, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Maher. We have more from him. Getting ready to get out of the Democrat Party if they keep going the way they're going. He's not the only one. One of the people that actually Fetterman has been on the rampage about what's happening to the Democrat Party. James Golden is Snerdley with you here. Let me, before we get to maybe more Bill Maher and Bill Maher and some of the Fetterman, let me just go back to this HOA case for a moment. So again, this Jacksonville HOA, they've come up with $155,000 assessment so that they can force a 28-year-old to give up the house that her father owned in that community. So now it's her private property, but oh no, she's not 55. So they want to force her to sell her property at the Freedom at Arbor Mill community. Freedom my behind. She moved into the home to care for her terminally ill father. He left her the house, but she's not 55. So now they're assessing every single resident in that HOA, including her. She has to help pay for the lawsuit against her to try to force her to move. Now, never mind, the federal government has laws about age discrimination, race discrimination, all kinds of discrimination in housing. This HOA is going to do what they please, Screw federal law. And there's a homeowners association in Florida I'm aware of. The state law says that you can grow fruits, vegetables in your own backyard. You can't do stuff in the front yard other people see. Your backyard, generally accepted. Grow your own fruits and vegetables. There is one, a homeowners association that I'm aware of, that is trying to get people to illegally cut down their fruit trees because one or two of the people on that board didn't like fruit trees. And you find this everywhere, where homeowner association boards act in the most tyrannical ways. Now, look, I understand that homeowners associations do some good, too. Helping keep up standards. I'm not opposed to that. Making sure that, community values are present, fine. But the idea that they're going to force this 28-year-old to give up her house because she's not 55 years old, her property, and then force her to join the lawsuit paying for it against herself. I don't know, folks. I just think there's something entirely wrong with this whole thing. Promised you more of Bill Maher. And this is Bill Maher is very upset with where his party is going. We heard that. Let's, did we play 5 or 6? Whatever one we play, the other one.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not living in communist America. I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing. And DSA, again, they
You are seeing what you're seeing. In fact, the co-chair of the Democrat Socialists of America's DSA was on with Martha McCallum on Fox. This is cut 10. This is what Gustavo Gordillo, the co-chair of the Democrat Socialists of America, whatever they are, this is what he said on Fox Network.
Are you in favor of abolishing Article 1 of the Constitution?
No. We support a democratic route to transformative change in the United States. We think that we need to put the working class before the billionaire class.
So you don't want to abolish the Senate, the United States Senate, because that's what Article 1 is.
The United States Senate is an undemocratic institution. It gives more representation to people in smaller states than to the 30 million people in California.
So you've got the House of Representatives, which is population-driven, and then you've got the Senate. So every state, if you're a small state, you still get 2 senators, even though you only get maybe 1 congressman, in order to make all of the states have fair representation. So you say, I'm just confused.
When you ask normal Americans if Congress and the Senate and our political system is working for them, most people are very unhappy with the political system, and they say it's not working for them. When we think about the 250th anniversary of the United States, and we think about our proudest moments in U.S. history, I think of times like when ordinary people rose up and they changed the Constitution to abolish slavery, to give women the right to vote.
Everyone's proud of that.
And
that's a nationwide pride in the country.
But back in those moments, those were considered radical movements because those people dared to say we need transformative change in the United States.
Right.
And I
well,
think
we
that
struggle to become a more perfect union. But I just want to ask you again, do you want to abolish the United States Senate? Because you said you approve of Article 1, but then you said you didn't think the Senate works.
We think that the Senate should be reformed, that we should have a more democratic government system. But that's a long-term change that we're seeking. And in the short term, we're focused on issues like affordability, like freezing the rent, which we've just done in New York, like creating a universal childcare system, which we're also taking steps toward doing, like fixing our energy grid. In 2023 here in New York, we passed the Build Public Renewables Act, which would create publicly owned renewable energy to have a more reliable, cheaper, cleaner energy grid. These are our immediate term demands. We're we do have a long-term horizon where we do want to democratize our government. But in the short term, we're focused on affordability. We're focused on a working-class economic agenda.
Nobody asked the question at all, ever, of this guy. No one asked the question. How are you going to abolish the Senate? You're going to need Senate approval. It's going to have to pass the House. How are you going to abolish the United States? No one even bothers to ask questions from this illogical nonsense that these people spew over at the DSA. How do you do it? How are you going to defund ICE? You're not in a majority. How are you going to do these things? And by the way, we went through a civil war to abolish slavery. It wasn't some people forming some little Democrat socialist group and then marching and saying, okay, we're gonna do this. It took a civil war. And this discussion that took place happened since the beginning of the country, and it's still in some forms is happening today. But the process was not as he described it. Now, this guy, co-chair Gustavo Gordillo, I want you to listen to this next segment, 11, because to me, this is absolutely chilling and stunning.
The problem we're facing in our housing system is that we talk about tenants and we say they have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They have to be responsible financially. But when we look at the landlords, we don't use those same standards. Landlords in New York have been making a 12% return on their investment on average.
How much should they make? What's fair for the landlord to make if you don't like 12?
They're complaining that 12 is not enough. And we don't think that anyone should have a constitutional right to double-digit returns on their investment. That's why we've implemented...
No one should have a right to a double-digit return on their investment.
No one has a right. That's not... No,
what are you talking about?
That's not in the Constitution, but what we see is that when we implement a rent freeze, we have landlords who are crying that the government is going to put them out of business.
They're trying to run a business, and they're trying to do it effectively. Are all landlords perfect? Are some landlords lousy? Of course they are. But I just think that the idea that no one should make a double-digit profit is the antithesis of the desire to, you can be anything you want to be in New York.
What we're saying... I said, no one should have a right to have no one have a right to make 12% on your investment. The tenants, they're all good. The landlords, they're all bad. On average, if he looks at average, and he even understood the word average, when you average it out, there is a 12%. If his facts are right, number one, and I'm not going to concede that they are, but even if that's the case, half the landlords are below that medium. So half aren't even making that. But even if they are making, what business of it is this little busybody? This little busybody who probably hasn't owned anything in his life in terms of real estate, otherwise he wouldn't be talking like that, who hasn't had to work for it, buy it, and own it, what right does he and his little communist buddies have the right to come in and tell you this is how much money you can make? These people are insufferable. He sits and whines about people that have actually worked to own property and then denigrates them because the ones that are making a profit are making a profit. Nobody should have the right to do this. They tell the tenants to pick yourselves up by your bootstraps, but then they don't do it. They don't pick up by their bootstraps. This whole argument is ludicrous. No one is telling tenants to pick themselves up from their bootstraps. They're saying, I have a place, you can rent it. Here's the price. And here are the conditions of you leasing, renting property that doesn't belong to you. And in return for me providing you this property, this is what you pay. And that should be between the person that owns the place and the person who's looking for the place, not this little busybody and his little communist pals who want to insert themselves in the middle in the interest of fairness of things they don't even understand. Property ownership. Now, we have two things that I wanted to get to today, but I can't because of time. Keir Starmer is gone. Keir Starmer. Let's just play a little bit of it. We don't have to play, just a little taste of it. Just a little whisper.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm about to visit His Majesty the King to offer my resignation and close the book on my time as Prime Minister.
Good.
My work is done.
Good.
In 6.5 years, I took our party from a historic defeat in 2019, changed it so it was fit to face the country, and won a landslide general election victory in 2024. Since then, it has been the privilege of my life to serve
you forgot about the last election where you lost. You lost your shirts. That's enough of him. We got to go to a break. Get a stomach. We have the new guy, Andy Burnham. And I was going to get excited about him until I heard his speech. It's like, oh, they just replaced one with another. They just replaced one with another. Clip of the day coming up. Please, you want to hear the clip of the day. We'll be right back, my friends.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The clip of the day. You want to hear it. It's the clip of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, the clip of the day is a montage somebody put together before I could get to it. This, Kathleen Gleason, wherever you are, good work. Your work with the Rush Show has become institutionalized across the country. Kathleen Cookie Gleason, who's the queen of montages. Anyway, this montage features New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Kamala Harris, and Hillary Clinton. It involves their accents while campaigning. It begins with AOC over the last few days.
We cannot afford to leave Tennessee behind. We cannot afford to leave Kentucky behind, Alabama behind, Mississippi behind, Georgia behind, South Carolina behind.
You better thank a union member.
Kamala.
For the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
All right, listen. Okay, listen.
Alexandria.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Hillary.
I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy.
I know we're tired. We're going to live behind. We're going to do behind. It's amazing listening to these Democrat women pander to their audiences. Folks, we are going to leave you today in celebration of a man who's turned 79 today. Carlos Santana, Mexican-American rock guitarist, superstar, icon. Santana broke really on the scene at Woodstock in 1969. They were around before them, but that's really what set it off. And then, of course, his brilliant career had a resurgence when the Supernatural album was released in 1999. 8 Grammy Awards for this album. We got to go. May God bless. Protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are back tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, my friends, happy birthday. Carlos Santana, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?